Okay guys, I'm going to do a review of the Sigelei Zmax V2. Alright, I'm not going to vape on this time because, you know, it's just really not needed to do a review on a device, okay? It doesn't come with anything on top of it, therefore I don't think it's really needed. Okay, I'm doing this video today on my webcam, which is different than I normally do, so I might be looking left quite a bit just to make sure I'm getting the right shot, just because it makes it a little easier. As you can see, this thing doesn't have ego threads, and that's the question that is asked the most about this device. Okay, with that being said, there are ego adapters out there, and they're only a couple of bucks, so don't let a PV turn you off just because it doesn't have an ego connector. Also, another thing to be noted is that most of the time something with ego threads probably works a little bit better on an ego because that's what it's designed for, okay? Now, if you want adjustable voltage, obviously pretty much everybody out there that knows what an ego is knows that there are egos out there with adjustable voltage, okay? So that's how I look at it, okay? But with that being said, I do have an ego adapter, okay? Because I didn't always have an ego, but when I did get an ego, I realized that the things that I vape with an ego worked better on an ego, okay? So it makes perfect sense why this thing not having ego threads is nothing to be worried about, okay? An ego is cheaper than this. Even a vision spinner or a ego twist is much more cheaper than this is, okay? With a little bit better performance for something that was designed for it, blah blah blah, right? Okay, so let's get on with this. This has stainless steel finish. I've got the short cap on there right now with an 18650 in there. However, this longer cap that comes with them, this longer cap is really the only cap that you need. However, some people get real finicky on the aesthetics, and with that being said, it is nice of them to include a shorter cap that can work in 18650 mode only. Okay, so if you have an 18650 and it's just a little bit too long for you, okay, then you can put this shorter cap on there and it will be a little bit shorter for you, okay? None of that matters to me. I don't take this out on the town with me when I go anywhere. When I go somewhere, I take this. Vent holes in the bottom cap, okay? You can use something that's skirted. Here's a CE4. It's got a 510 connector on it. Screws right into there. You no longer see the skirt, so it works fine with that. However, it does not perform good with this because this is designed for an ego. Now, let me see if I can find an ego in here somewhere. There's an ego right there. This is what this is designed for, and it performs better like that, okay? I haven't noticed any batteries that are too fat to fit in here per se, but there may be some out there that are too fat. But the batteries that I have used in this, I've got an MNKE, or a couple of them. I've got a couple of Panasonics, the original gray ones, the 2250 mAh. And I've got a couple of the 2000 mAh EFES, and all of those batteries fit in here with no problem, okay? I've put dual 18350s in here, no problem. Alright, this has 8 menu options. The first one is on and off, okay? The second one is voltage up, third one is voltage down, fourth one is tells you your battery voltage, the fifth one will give you your display. On your display you have resistance, you have battery voltage, and then you have the actual voltage or power setting that the device is set at. Now that doesn't display all the time, it only displays when you're pushing a button. probably going to be upside down, and it is. Okay. 4.3 volts. I know that's kind of hard to see. This is a fairly subpar webcam, so sorry for that. It doesn't have focusing on it. Anyway, so when you go to menu 6, you get LCD on or off. Oops, and it just went into the adjustment. I was a little slow on that one. Okay, number 7 is power or voltage. Power or voltage is watts or volts. Okay, and then the 8th and final menu option is mean or RMS. Mean is basically the old style of Chinese pulse width modulation. Okay, pulse width modulation. Okay, so what that was that some things might be set, the device might be set for 3 volts, but people were testing them and they were finding out that it was much hotter than what it was set at. So they came out with the RMS and the 8th menu option in this particular device that allowed you to have true voltage instead of something that was 3 volts and it was registering 3.7. Now with the RMS, you can go 3 volts and you are sure that you are getting 3 volts to whatever you have sitting on top of the device. Okay, so there's really not a whole lot that I can say about this. The minimum resistance is 1.2. However, the electronics in this thing, they are really touchy. When you get close to 1.1, you might be at like 1.2.8, and sometimes this thing's gonna say low load on it. Okay, that's one of my pet peeves. I do have a device with electronics in it that goes down to 1 ohm. So if I wrap the Genesis at say 1.3 ohms throughout the life of the coil, if it goes up or goes down, with this it may turn into one of those things to where I cannot use it. Okay, so that's where the other one comes in handy, but if it was all I had, it would be quite annoying. That means I'd have to fiddle with the coil constantly, or I would have to rewrap and put another wrap on there to get more resistance, so that I'm sure that I am not going to have those error codes come up. Okay, so it's another Provari type. Whenever I compare this thing to a Provari, I am only comparing it to the looks. Okay, this thing here does not perform anything like a Provari, to be honest with you. Okay, it's cheaper in price, so that right there will tell you something. The Provari is made in America, which in this case is a better quality. Okay, and it's just going to last longer. There are a lot of people out there that have said that these things don't last very long. You know, I've actually gone through about 60 of these. I've held 60 of these in my hand, and out of those 60, I have had 4 of them that were bad. So, you know, the odds of a bad one are decent. Okay, so it's what, like 10% failure rate. So, and those are the ones that have actually came back and said, hey, there was an issue. Some other people may have just said, well, hey, it was a cheap, not very well made PV, that's my problem, you know, and never asked for help. So that may have been the issue there. The failure rate can be even higher, which is very unfortunate. Last final pet peeve that I have with this is the fact that when the resistance is too low, your ohm checker, which you go through here and set it, and I'll set that one right now so you guys can see. It's the only thing, oh, it's menu 5, and I just passed it the second time, is when you set this thing to resistance, It's the only menu that actually scrolls, and it scrolls and it scrolls forever, it seems like, and then it finally is ready to go. But when you push that and you get your resistance 9.9, okay, it is all fine and dandy unless you are close to the cutoff point. Since you got to push this button to get that resistance to show, it doesn't show you resistance if it's 1.2, 1.2.8 or whatever. If it's showing you low load, you're not going to be able to know what your resistance is. And I'll show you that right here with this DID atomizer, because it's got right around 0.6 of an ohm. So this will be a good way for you to be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, you think you've got a glorified ohms checker here in a tube mod. Okay, and well, I don't want to I have to let it leak a little bit, so I'm going to try to do this fast. But you think you've got a glorified ohms checker, but you really don't, okay, because anything 1.2 and below has the low load come up, and that's it. Okay, so you see it was set to resistance, so now there you go, low load. So this really is not a very good ohm checker, unfortunately. But if you vape Cardos, or you know, something that tells you what the resistance is, and you know it's over, you know, it's a pre-made coil on it, anything like that, you know, you're gonna know what the resistance is first, and those things are fine. You're not gonna have a problem with the ohm checker. But it is not a foolproof 100% ohm checker. Okay, let me show you what is while I'm at it. Okay, this is what I expect from a PV that has an ohms checker, a resistance meter, whatever you want to call it. Okay, 0.6. Okay, sure, it won't fire, but at least it will do what it's supposed to do, and it will check the ohms for me, and it will give me an accurate reading. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and try to fire and see what happens. Low ohms. So that's one thing that this is lacking, and it's not cool in my opinion. However, for the price, for something that kind of resembles a Provari and has even more options than a Provari, I think you can't lose no matter what. I mean, it's decent. However, you know, it's not the unicorn. You know, it's not that super cheap PV that does everything that everybody's always looking for. Okay, it's just not there yet. Thank you for watching.